Chancellor Green, Deputy Vice Chancellor Pace, Dr. Paloma Mohammed, other senior management at the University of Guyana, resource panel, invitees all. I am Alex Armogan, the Interim Director of the University of Guyana Energy Think Tank. My background, briefly about it, I have a law degree, I have an MBA, an MSc in Economics and Finance, and an MSc in Energy Finance. As to why I don't have a PhD as yet, I'm getting that sorted. So I'd like to welcome you to the second conference on the Public Accountability and Oversight Committee of the Natural Resource Fund. Our first UJET event was held on the 30th of October 2019 at Duke Lodge. A number of leading international and domestic experts were tapped to inform participants on the Sovereign Wealth Fund legislation, the Natural Resource Fund Act, its importance to stabilization, intergenerational wealth, among others, the need to guard against the Dutch disease, the importance of resource oversight, and the role of the PAOC. Presentations and an event report can be found on our website, www.ugenergythinktank.com, and presentations from this event will also be live within 2 weeks. UJET promised to continue the engagement on oversight and the Natural Resource Fund, and this second conference is a fulfillment of that promise. The think tank is actively engaged in the NRF Act, since the university is one of 22 entities that will form the PAOC. And we have a vested interest in ensuring that other nominating bodies understand their responsibilities. Moreover, oversight by the people of Guyana on the management of the oil sector and revenues associated are critical to the sustainable development of the country. If I present a scenario in which each individual here who is a Guyanese citizen is entitled to a large amount of revenue due to an asset that you own, you will be vigilant and scrutinize the revenues generated from that asset. And this is not far from the reality that we're in. As a Guyanese citizen, you're owners of a fraction of the resources of the country. The government manages on your behalf. It is therefore vital that we continue the discussion on how we can successfully implement this oversight committee and execute the intentions as shown in the Act. Too often have countries experienced the discovery of massive deposits of natural resources and the opportunity for broad economic gain and political progress, but only to fall on the grounds of corruption and mismanagement. At the Brain Trust 1 event, we had 2 roundtable discussions on questions concerning the membership and priorities of the PAOC. And a copy of this has been given to each one of you. That is why, if you're wondering where you can find the details of the response of the participants, it is in each of the conference packs. We addressed the expectations of the PAOC membership. Participants stated that members should be transparent and accountable. They should have a strong stance against corruption. They should represent community interests, be independent of political affiliation, monitor and evaluate the government's implementation of the NRF Act, and enhance and promote checks and balances. They should ensure that the findings and the recommendations of the PAOC are enforced. As to the qualities of PAOC membership, participants stated that they should have a requisite knowledge, skills, and experience, and they should be a working knowledge, at least on accounts and finance. Good communication and reporting skill. They should be able to articulate well. They should be objective, fair, and strong in their decision making. They should be committed, transparent, accountable, and approachable, among others. Now I'll hand over to Norwell, who will take you through the priorities of the PAOC. In closing, I would like to say, in my personal opinion, that the Natural Resource Fund Act is the best piece of regulation/legislation that the country has produced in the management of the oil sector. Ghana is one of the few countries with an oversight committee attached to its sovereign wealth fund legislation. While this is a strong step in the right direction, among other things, we need a robust fiscal responsibility framework to ensure that we do not encounter a situation where the amount paid in interest to national debt is greater than the amount generated to the fund. Norwell?
Thanks, Alex. The introduction there was pretty smooth. It was like a tag team. So my name is Norwell Hinds. I know some of you. I know many of you, and those who I don't know, I would like to get to know. And you who know me know that I've been involved in community work for a long time, maybe 20 years or so. And therefore, it is particularly important that we talk about the public interest in oil and gas. And there's no better time to talk about the public interest in oil and gas than this time. One, because we're already producing oil. And this was a significant part of the conversation at the first brain trust that we had in October last year. First, I want to say a little bit about the participants at the last brain trust. As far as we could, we endeavored to have the sort of diversity that was required. We had participants that represented all of the regions of Guyana, except at the time we were not able to get participants, I think, from region Region 5 was not able to send their complement of participants, but they were able to participate through our regional interaction with them. And therefore, we had pretty much covered the entire country. In terms of the total number of people who participated, we had 121 participants at the last UJET. And this included representatives of the constituent members, the 22 constituent members, including youth groups and women's groups. So we were very pleased with the participation of those constituent organizations in that first brain trust. The participants identified 3 sets of priorities: medium-term, long-term, and short-term priorities. Among the short-term priorities, the big ones that needed to be focused on, and I should mention that the main confab occurred on October 30th, but there was a series of small conversations that also took place the following day with particular sector groups. And out of that, one of the key short-term priorities was the continuing public education and consultation around the POC. Members felt that at that time it was their particular responsibility, given the context in which the Natural Resource Fund itself had evolved, and the priority at the time, since we're moving towards first oil in December of last year. They identified that among those short-term priorities is very quickly to set up an interim group and to resource a secretariat for the Natural Resource Fund's Public Accountability and Oversight Committee. Among the medium-term priorities that were identified was the ongoing monitoring and evaluation work for the Natural Resource Fund, the collecting of data, the contracting of specialist technical assistance to support the work of the POC, the set of recommendations that will come from the constituent members to the managers of the NRF fund, and the continuing alignment of the Natural Resource Fund with the Santiago Principles. Of course, in the long term, these were some of the long-term priorities. The Act already prescribes some of those long-term responsibilities of the POC. It includes public education, it includes the development of reports, and those reports go to the National Parliament. Those are intended for the Parliament. So significant are those reports, and the continuing capacity building of the members of the POC. Some concluding thoughts from the participants at Brain Trust 1. An interim committee, as I mentioned before, and the fast tracking of the nomination process by constituent members. As Alex mentioned, the full report is available on the UJET website. It could be accessed by visiting the website, downloading, but the quick access to the website is also in your folders. There is a card that's available to you, and you can scan that if you're up to date, if you're up to the times, as the young people will say. You can also scan the card and very quickly get to the website. So I want to thank you, and we look forward to what I think will be a very useful Brain Trust 2.